Good morning, traders, and welcome to the Pirate Traders Morning Show. My name is Charles. I'm joined today by Paul. How's it going, Paul?
It's going great. How are y'all doing?
I'm well. The chat is quiet. They're not saying anything, so we're going to have to assume they're good. But we will ask them to push that like button.
I suppose.
Yeah, could be. All right, well, let me jump into some TA to start the day, as always. Okay, so I got an email yesterday from a member of the brigade who basically was very upset. They were very angry, and they were saying it's impossible to make money as a trader when the market does things like it did yesterday, right? When it has days where it does things like yesterday. So I wanted to take just a second this morning to talk about yesterday and how we manage that as traders, okay? So there's a quote that members of the brigade are sick of me repeating over and over and over again from Bruce Lee, where he says, "Be like water, my friends."
Oh, I like that one.
The idea is that water becomes whatever vessel you put it in. If you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water instantly changes to whatever environment it's put in. Water can flow or water can crash, right? Water can dig out an entire, canyon, either by having one massive storm where it floods and it just tears the land apart, or by slowly corroding it away over many, many years, right? So water can be a solid, it can be a liquid, it can be a gas. It becomes whatever is necessary in that particular moment. And that's the only way you can handle days like yesterday. Okay, so for any of you that may not have been watching the charts, it was a pretty gnarly day. And the reason that it was a gnarly day was that it was full of fake outs, right? The market opened, and initially it looked like it was going up, and then it looked like it was going down. And then it started trending up, and then the trend came to an end. And then it broke higher, and then it reversed. But then it looked like it was going nowhere. Then it liquidated, and then it basically almost instantly reversed and went all the way straight back up to close with a massive spike to the upside. Okay? And the reason that a day like that is such a tricky day is because it's sending you all these random signals that it's doing one thing, and then it's doing another, and then it's doing another, and then it's doing another. So if you're asking yourself, how can a person be a trader and make a living in a market like that? There are several things to think about. First and foremost, there was a lot of unusual behavior. Okay. It was the end of the month. There was a lot of options rolling over. We had
end of the quarter.
End of the month and end of the quarter. We had Powell speaking. There was all sorts of weird stuff happening in the market. So right off the bat, there's nothing that says you have to take trades when the market is doing weird stuff, right? You can wait for a market that you understand, that's doing what you expect it to do, and you take trades in that market. If you are going to take trades in a market like we had yesterday, you just have to be able to shift very quickly. So what does that mean? You may get in a trade and you may get stopped out all of a sudden, and you may feel like that doesn't make any sense, that shouldn't have happened. But instead of wasting any time feeling bad about the fact that you got long and then the market liquidated, or vice versa, instead look for the next opportunity. If the market just liquidated and it passed through your stop, is this a place to buy the dip? Is this a place to buy the falling knife? Or are we getting new selling? Is this a place to go short, to reverse your trade? If you can stay open to the changes in the market, there was actually a lot of opportunities to make money yesterday, particularly in the very last couple hours of the day. So that is just the thing I want to start off with for everyone is, if you're feeling frustrated on days like yesterday, there are two ways to handle it. One, step aside. Two, just change with the market, and don't get mad at the market that it's doing whatever it's doing. Just accept that it got you. They got me. Oh, man. All right, let me get back and make my money back, because that mental clarity will make it possible to be profitable. Okay, so TA-wise, where does the end of the day yesterday leave us? Well, it leaves us in a very complicated place this morning. This is a morning that will require some patience and some waiting for some confirmation to be sure of what's happening. The fact that we had lower highs, lower lows, and value overlapping to lower is bearish and tells us the market is going to go down today. But the fact that we had a spike up and that we closed at the upper end of the spike tells us that the market is going to go up today. So that's the first sort of tricky, contradictory information we're getting. Now, the overnight traded inside the spike all night long. So that is bullish and confirms that the market wants to go up. But I just think we should have a lot of caution this morning. We can be bullish. We can look for support inside the lower end of the overnight range. We can look for momentum to the upside. But if we don't get it and the market starts to trade below the base of the spike up from yesterday, we want to be like water. We want to change very quickly and be bearish. Okay, and so I'm just going to zoom out and show you the daily candles real quick. I've drawn this channel that I believe the market is in on the daily time frame. Okay, so we dipped below it, but by the end of the day yesterday, we pulled back up into that channel. So in terms of balance, that is what we describe as a failed breakout of balance. The market tried to break lower, couldn't do it, and re-entered the balance area. So if the market can stay inside that balance area today, which is basically holding the base of the spike up, then we could look for a big move in the days ahead towards the opposite of the balance, which is obviously into serious all-time high territory. Okay, so if it doesn't, if we start to trade back down into yesterday's range, if the base of that spike up can't hold, well, then this was a breakout with a back test. So that back test giving us resistance is a reason to be very, very bearish for continuation lower. So that is what I am seeing the market as today. I know I said the same thing yesterday, that we had potential to either break lower or reverse back up. Could I have guessed that both would happen in the same day? No, but that's what happened. So today we're looking for the same thing. The base of the spike up from yesterday is basically 5,800. It's 59.99. If that area can hold today, so the market can come back down, it can test it, it can poke below it. But if it comes right back up and it turns that area into support, we should be bullish for new all-time highs. And I mean today, okay? If not, if it pulls below there and it gets new selling and it spends time back below the base of the spike up from yesterday, we should look for the market to turn around and start heading towards yesterday's lows. So you might be saying, Charles, what about the idea of just an inside day inside this range that we've been stuck in for the last few days? That is also possible, but the least likely scenario in my mind. Okay, and if that were to happen, we would first get below the spike. We would start to sell off and get nothing for it, right? And it would reverse back up. But I suspect we're either making new all-time highs or we're heading back down towards yesterday's lows here today. Paul, what do you got for us?
Yes. Well, I do recall yesterday morning you saying it again and again and again. Please think about what they're doing here. And if you don't see a trade, don't trade it. Just be careful, be careful, be careful. And then at the end of the day, you had said all morning long, if you wait this out at some point today, there will be a chance to make a lot of money. And so congratulations to Charles. And I think that's definitely, from my perspective, what I saw happen yesterday is the morning was a total sleeper. And I made trades I wish I hadn't made. And but when I got into the afternoon and could see the breakdown, it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for myself, that may say I'm better at liquidations than other types of trades. But the idea that it would just be a mess until it wasn't a mess is, I think, quite fruitful. NQ did very much the same thing. It spiked down and then spiked right back up. I mean, NQ bounced 250 points in the last half hour.
Yowza.
Positive. Yeah, just amazing. $5,000 a contract. What can you say? Just amazing. So there is that going on. I did notice that oil had popped back down and was staying down. So we'll see. I don't know if we need to talk about it today all that much, but I think I'm looking at 67 now. And so it's we've talked about it several times, how it's going to be basing off the roughly 65 or so. Mm-hmm. And see where it goes from there. So for my purposes, though, one other thing I was going to share that I have been working on. Well, let me just walk through one or two things on the short news. Is that there's no news today. There's a bunch of FOMC speakers all day long today and tomorrow. Just regular guys. Papa Powell's not speaking. But that's going on. I did want to point out that they're launching a micro Nikkei and a micro yen on CME. I've traded Nikkei before and just did not like it. I probably didn't. It doesn't. It's got the characteristics of a. I mean, obviously, it's a first world economy. I don't think this market necessarily has traded the volumes that made it as useful to me as a trader as ES and NQ. But maybe kicking in with micro volumes that will pick up. We shall see.
Isn't that interesting, their timing on that? Like, how long have they been sitting on it waiting for something major to happen with China? And then they're like, we got it. Well, you can trade it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this is a casino. Man, they are, CME is just a casino. It's so funny. All right, go on.
Well, speaking of that, though, are the CME options. And they just trade differently than, I mean, they're all written on the futures contracts. And the volume that they've been doing is just really, is beginning to be comparable to futures volume. And specifically, it's comparable to volume on the ES. Just looking yesterday, we had volume of futures for ES of about 1.5 million. I don't see it right off the top of my head. And mostly volume on ES futures was 1.2 million futures contracts. I mean, that's just unimaginable to me that ES is trading that many contracts, options on futures. And that's where the bulk of the volume is. And that's over 1 million a day last week of options volume. So it's comparable to what's trading on the futures contract itself. So I can't really explain it other than to say that somebody is definitely somebody's playing chess and we're playing checkers out here.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you and I had a bit of a chat about this in the pre-market or before the show started, but yeah, it's that market maker. So participants, and I'm not just talking about like retail traders like you and I, hedge funds and family offices and whatever. I mean, if you look at, politicians in Washington, right, and you follow their portfolios, like everyone uses options now. Options is the preferred way to interact with the market because you have more options, literally, in how you can take on risk, and you have a lot more, leverage that you can, if you're right, you can make a lot more money for a lot less risk. And so options used to be this thing that was like this complicated thing that only true pros used, but now everyone is using them. And the thing that separates options from underlying shares or futures contracts is that the people that sell those options are also hedging those options. Right. So, yeah, I mean, when you're seeing volume in the ES contract, some of that is participants using the ES to bet the market is going to go up or down. But a lot of it is they're buying or selling
the options volume.
Yeah, or they're either buying or selling options on the futures, or they're buying or selling options on the underlying shares, and the market makers that sell that stuff are using the ES as a way to kind of stop the market from having a volatile move. So yeah, it's just like when you say we're playing checkers and they're playing chess, it's like almost an understatement. It's like, what is the way the market moves and why it moves the way it does is so complex. It is such a complex web of interconnected pieces that it's just insane.
Well, but what I can find to do that I find interesting, because I'm slowly but surely digging into some programming and pulling up data. I've been buying the NQ trades off of CME, and I'm buying the ES trades this week off of CME. But I can also buy the option trades. And that means I can buy every trade over the course of a month. And with my limited programming skills, such as they are, I'm able to see or intend to see, where the offsets are taking place. Where, are they doing it at resistance like we think they are? Or are they doing it, in the case of the ES, are they doing it 7 points out, away from 100 or away from a 50 point. That's my project this fall, basically, is to dig out the correlation between what's going on in the options and what's going on in the futures contracts. And it's available to see. It's huge data, but it's available to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I would also say if that's something that you're interested in, this is not my forte. I don't really know
Yeah.
much about it, but I know there are software packages that visualize that. So they create a heat map to show you that data from the options, either on
Yep.
SPX or on the futures. There's one called Vol Signals, I think, that does
Yep.
it. Also, Spot Gamma just released a platform that you can watch that, a heat map that you can watch that.
Yep.
And it's, from what I understand, from, again, the tiny little bit that I've looked into it, it's like it can give you amazing insights. So you can see, for example, where the market flips from positive to negative gamma,
Right.
or it's like you can see where the levels are on the chart where something is going to change for the options market makers, but you still can't always predict what's going to happen based on it. So I would also say to anyone who's listening to this, because I've had people reach out to me really interested in this topic in the past. If there's anybody that knows anything about this and wants to share that conversation with Paul, email me and I'll put you guys in touch, because I would love to see where you go with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Spot Gamma is interesting, and I did see the product launch, but I haven't. I'm kind of just doing my introvert thing where I'm gathering, 19 million rows of data and trying to fry my laptop to get it processed.
Yeah.
But
No,
let's.
and
I
you
mean,
should. I
I'll
think it's
let you
great.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just thought it might be an interesting, because that's essentially what those heat maps are doing. Is
Yep.
they're condensing all that data and making it visual for you. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if you were to collect all the data and then be having a conversation with ChatGPT or whatever to analyze it, it might find insights that Spot Gamma's not showing or whatever.
Well, that's part of the story. I mean, I'm working with ChatGPT on it, but ChatGPT has its own mind and does really, really weird things. I was asking it questions this weekend about the NQ, and I asked it to introduce another type of AI program into it, and it did. And it just decided to call up Yahoo and execute it on Apple stock all by itself. And if I wasn't reading the script closely, I ran it
Uh-huh.
like 2 or 3 times, and I was wondering, well, why isn't this doing what I expected to do? And I kept reading, and it's like, wait a minute, this guy inserted Apple stock into this whole equation. I don't know anything about Apple. I don't trade it, you know. And
That's so
so
funny.
GPT is a forest. It's not. It's a useful tool, but boy, you got to be useful yourself before you get involved with it.
Yeah, yeah. That is the one problem, is that it's got a mind of its own, and so
Oh,
you got to keep up with it.
you do you favors, and you just don't want those favors sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny.
But other than that, that's what I've got. It
Cool.
was a really exciting day yesterday, but it is about patience. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up. I forgot how much I drilled that into people's heads. It's like, because
No more than 2 hours worth, but hey, that's fine.
but yeah, but that's what I'm saying, was like, for those first few hours of the day, if you were to just go through and read the chat of what people were saying, they were like, this market's going to go nowhere all day. This is so frustrating. It's like, and I just kept thinking, like, guys, relax. Like, you don't need to know what's going to happen right this minute. At some
Yep.
point today, this thing is going to it's winding up. It's going to break. But it's so
And it broke
funny.
in both directions. So there.
Yeah, I mean, that I did not expect, but yeah, it's like, it's so funny the way human nature is. People can only think about what's happening right this minute, and they want answers right this minute, and they want to take a trade right this minute, and they get so upset if there isn't a good, clear opportunity right this minute. And it's just something that I, over the years, have learned to be like, when I don't understand, when there's not a good opportunity, I just don't care. I just wait, because at some point in the day, I'll be like, oh shit, we just broke the low. Here we go.
Yep.
So very cool.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, any final questions from the chat before we say goodbye? Thank you to everyone who said good morning today. And the 16 of you that pushed the like button, thank you. The other 44 of you, what's up, yo? What's it going to take to get a like? All right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you, Charles.
All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.